A big part of our audience is looking into starting a business overseas. Perhaps they want to open up a local company. They have an innovative idea for monetizing a business locally. That's great. What's important here is to find a place that has a decent corporate tax structure. What we're talking about here are, of course, low corporate taxes. But that's not the only metrics to be looking at. What's also important is, of course, ease of doing business, the cost of labor. There are so many important factors. Also, of course, government regulations. So much ties into the equation for you to know whether it makes sense to start a business or not. I wanted to ask you now, Jesse, what's the corporate tax situation like in Paraguay? If you can give us some info on that.
Yeah, of course. Paraguay is known because it's really open, and it always Paraguay always promote the foreign inversion. So the foreign inversion is very appreciated here in Paraguay, and that's why the government always promotes this. And that's one of the reasons that the government doesn't want to make a higher taxation for these companies and for these investors here. And it's always maintaining the 10% of the business taxation. So in Paraguay, that's very, very popular, the real estate business, for example. That's one of the major causes that it's bringing many foreigners to invest here in Paraguay. The real estate is very important here in Paraguay, and it's growing really fast, especially in the sides of Paraguay that shares borders with the other countries like Argentina and Brazil. These two countries are also growing countries, and that means that many people are constantly moving close to the borders, and there is this one of the cities that has more growing in real estate, for example. But other people comes also here moving their businesses from other countries because of the taxation. For example, we have a lot of Argentinians moving their businesses here in Paraguay, also a lot of Uruguayan investors, but now we also have a more varied of investors from all around the world. The most popular ones are Brazilian, Argentinians, and Uruguayans because of the 10% of business taxes. And this is very simple. If you want to open a business here in Paraguay, something you want to run out here, normally people start with individual companies, which is more easy to have, for example. But if you want to open a company, a larger company with more inversion, with people that Paraguayan professionals, you will need to make some steps. And of course, you will need to consult with professionals, accountants, and legal professionals. So it's quite easy. If you have a company, you will have a lot of benefits, especially bank benefits. For example, greater limits than if you decide to open a business. An individual business is not the same, of course, but mostly always you will have to pay 10%. There is no limit with this. It's always 10% mostly, or lower. More than this, it's not possible in Paraguay. It's 5% or 10%, mostly 10%. That's why many people of other countries are moving here. They are not exactly opening new businesses here, but they are moving their businesses to Paraguay because they see these benefits from the government. The 10% is really convenient for everyone. And I think more people from all around the world are looking Paraguay because of this. It's pretty easy. You need a professional, and some days, for example, depending on your business, you always need to consult with a professional. But Paraguay, it's really open with all type of businesses, so you won't have any problem if you want to open a business here in Paraguay.
You made some really interesting point about Brazilians moving to Paraguay.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at the situation in South America, you got Uruguay, a country that also applies a territorial tax system. Then you also have Paraguay. So there are two options in South America that make a lot of sense. Argentina is a tax hell. It's not fun. living in Argentina, and I think many people from Argentina have also moved to places like Uruguay in recent years for the very
Yeah.
same reason that you pointed out. Brazilians have moved to Paraguay. It just makes a lot more sense. And like you said, they are transferring businesses over, meaning they're not starting new
Mhm.
businesses, they're just opening up a company in Paraguay. It's better there. You pay lower taxes, just makes a whole lot of sense. This is not water, this is vodka.
Oh,
I'm
I
kidding. It's water.
wondered.
I'm kidding. It's vodka.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No girly drinks here, only hardcore. I know what it's like incorporating a company. I know what it's like paying taxes. If you are living in Western Europe and you are concerned about the rising taxes, the high corporate tax rate, let's say your business retained a profit over year, right? Year over year, your business had a profit, then you would have to pay corporate taxes in Europe, which are actually quite high in Western Europe. We're talking Austria, Germany, Belgium, Holland, France, UK. It's not cheap, and you pay a lot more in taxes than you would pay if you were to have a company in Paraguay. I know it doesn't make sense for some companies to move if your business is focused locally, your clients are local, then of course it might be difficult for you to move that business. I totally understand it, but there are many people that want to move their existing company to Paraguay so that they can take advantage of the lower tax rates. In Europe, we have a couple of options. If you're living in Western Europe and we are talking to clients, we have consulting clients, they're wondering what can they do? They're tired of living in Western Europe. The living costs are really high now and they keep increasing and increasing and increasing. They basically have two options. They can go to either Eastern Europe, they can go to a place like Bulgaria, where they only pay 10% corporate taxes. It's actually exactly the same as in Paraguay. You pay a 10% flat tax rate on corporate profits in Bulgaria. It's the same concept as in Paraguay. However, Bulgaria does not apply a territorial tax system, meaning you have to pay taxes on your worldwide income. That's assuming you are a resident of Bulgaria. However, Bulgaria might make sense to people if they don't want to move too far and they want to be closer to home. Sure. Then there are people that are living in Western Europe. They've been considering Asia, and to them, it's like, well, in Asia, in most places, I cannot own 100% of a company there. What options do I have left? I don't want to be in a bad weather for 6 to 8 months a year. Well, what comes to mind is, of course, places in South America. We're talking Uruguay, Paraguay, and then you want to consider, yeah, the tax rates. And so Europeans have that option. If they want to get out, if they want to get rid of the inflation problems that they're having back home, obviously there's also inflation in Paraguay. However, with your overseas income, you have much greater purchasing power. If you earn in dollars, euros, pounds, Canadian dollars, Australian dollars, Singapore dollars. Obviously, you have much greater spending power in Paraguay than you do back home, especially during this time of great crisis. I think that's important to point out that people should really consider what kind of business they want to open up. And what's important is, of course, the structure of the business. How can they minimize their taxes? What makes sense to them? And I think we covered this pretty well on today's call. Do you have anything else you want to add here, Jesse?
Yeah, I was inspired by what you say right now. And I also wanted to say about this Brazil. For example, I, as a Paraguayan, as a citizen, because of the Mercosur, I can go and live there, of course. But if I spend a lot of time there, I also will need to become a tax resident. It's not the same if they come here in Paraguay, they won't need to pay any taxes only if they are doing some business or if they are running business or if they are working for a company here in Paraguay. But if I move there as a Paraguayan, I will have to start paying taxes there and saying to the government, hey, I will start paying taxes here because I am living longer here. So it's not the same that having a permanent residency there, but I will have to become a tax resident there because I am living there. Compared to Paraguay, that's not going to happen today because they are not going to become residential taxpayers. They don't need to pay any taxes if they decide to come here in Paraguay. Of course, they will need to be temporary residents, but they are not going to become taxpayers, and they actually won't need to pay anything for living here, but only if they are working legally here in a company or if they are running a new business here. Even for them, it's more convenient to move in Paraguay if they have a business because of the 10% taxation. In Brazil is much higher. So comparing to migration, for me, in the matter of paying taxes, of course, I will win if I move to Paraguay, but I will start immediately to pay taxes if I decide to move to Brazil or even Argentina, for example.
You explained it so well.
Subscribe now and turn on alerts to never miss any of my future nomadism, dating, and business advice videos. Thank you for watching.